Music Podcasts.
Hi guys, welcome to Learn Kenyan Law with Wanjiku. I am your host, Wanjiku Mwangi, and today I'm joined in by a guest here. Karibu sana Ashley, please introduce yourself.
So hi everyone, my name is Ashley Mbogo and I'm a training architect here in Kenya as well as a friend to Wanjiku, and thank you for having me in your podcast today.
Thank you for coming as well. And as we know, the laws are very important in our society, and especially construction-related laws, because I feel like they help us establish and protect the society in one way or another. So I think for us to even start this discussion, could we probably talk about which body or which institution is responsible for governing and providing regulations when it comes to the construction industry?
So the body that governs the construction industry in Kenya is known as the NCA. And NCA stands for the National Construction Authority, and this is a government organization that regulates, streamlines, and builds capacity in the construction industry in Kenya.
Okay, and so for how long has NCA been around?
NCA has been around actually for a few years, but it dates back to post-independence in Kenya. At a time when Africans wanted to establish a state agency that would agitate for their rights, because at the time the industry was dominated by British and Indian contractors. So this led to the NCA bill, which came about in 1972, and which was later enacted as an act in 2011, and the NCA regulations were then operationalized, where the act was passed on June 6th of 2014.
Great. So NCA is basically the body that is responsible for different kind of regulations that we have in the building industry.
Yes.
So aside from that, do we have any importance of it? Do we have, is there any reason as to why we should regard it as important?
Yes, we should regard it as quite important because it's what contractors in the country need so that they are able to construct buildings and erect buildings in the country. Because from the organization, the contractors get accredited and registered, so that they are viable contractors in the country and that they're able to follow the regulations needed in the process of construction.
So one of the importance of NCA is accreditation of contractors.
Yes, accreditation and registration of contractors.
So first of all, you become registered as a contractor, then you become accredited?
Yes.
Okay, great. Is there anything else that we need to note when it comes to accreditation of our contractor?
Maybe when they are accredited and registered, the authority has them in the system, and then now they are able to maybe put in information of maybe the class of works that they are involved in, the category of works they're involved in the construction industry, and such likes.
And are there any requirements that these contractors have to have fulfilled first before they are accredited?
Yes. Actually, in accreditation, there's a body in the construction industry called NITA, which stands for the National Industrial Training Authority, NITA. So it's a body that supervises the giving of training certificates to the contractors or people in the construction industry, especially the workers. So not everybody is qualified to maybe sit for the NITA examinations. So if you're not able to sit for the NITA examination and get an accreditation, there's also the option of being a 2 years experienced construction worker. Then after that, you're given a provisional accreditation. And if you still don't have the 2 years experience in the industry and you haven't sat for the NITA examination, then you're put under apprenticeship. So you learn from somebody in the industry. Yes.
Okay, so you've talked about the importance being registration. You've also talked about accreditation.
Yes.
What other importance do we have when it comes to the NCA?
The NCA, what's the other thing now it does is project now registration. Apart from registering yourself as a contractor, you have to also register your own project. And this is done by the developer, or the developer is also the client of a certain project. So they have to also register their project, whether it's commercial or private. So this also helps towards now the streamlining of construction in the industry.
Yeah, that's also important because I feel like once you're registering your project, you're able to now give more information about the kind of project you're doing.
Yes.
Meaning, for example, if you're building a house in an urban area, maybe there's a specific kind of whatever you're supposed to be following. Maybe you're not supposed to build more than 10 floors or
true.
such things.
Yeah, certain zones have different guidelines. Yeah.
Okay, so what else what's the other work of the NCA?
So the last role of the NCA would be the renewal of practicing license. Because as a contractor, you have to have a license, an active license, and this license is renewed yearly. So each year you renew a license to continue practicing. And it's renewed on the 30th of June of every year.
Okay, great. So I feel like I'm going to concentrate majorly on our next issue. We're going to probably talk a lot on contractors. You've told us a contractor has to be registered under the NCA, and they also need to be accredited. So what are some of the requirements that this contractor needs to have fulfilled for them to be registered?
Okay, so the first one would be the practicing license. They have to have a valid practicing license running every financial year that comes. So that's the first one. The second one would be that, for example, in the construction industry, we have a few consultants who integrate for the ongoing of a project to be done. So some of which are engineers, architects, quantity surveyors, and such like. So we find, for example, like engineers, they are under EBK, which is the Engineers Board of Kenya. And for the architects and quantity surveyors, they are under the BORAX, which is the Board of Registration of Architects and Quantity Surveyors. So all these consultants have to be registered with their regulatory bodies, so that you're an accredited and registered architect or QS or engineer, so that you're able to run the practice as you continue with the project that you're undertaking.
Basically, before you become a registered contractor under the NCA, you have to be registered under your respective
body.
firms. Oh, okay.
Yes. Then, obviously, all these consultants also have to have their practicing licenses every year. And registration numbers that come with the process of registration. So maybe the third role would be approved architectural and structural drawings. So every time that you're submitting that there's a project that you're doing, you should have approved architectural drawings, which are done by the county.
Okay.
So that they can know what project is happening in such a place and what type of project it is, and if the plans are up to the standard required. Then there's also the physical planning forms. Which are basically the county approval permits, because the county has to give the approval for a project to be done in the particular area.
For sure.
Yes, for sure. You can't have a project running and the county doesn't know about it, because before that you have to go to the county, apply for the permit to construct the desired project. And
you also need to tell them which kind of project you're constructing.
Yes in the area, because some projects probably are not allowed in certain areas.
For sure. And do you need anything else?
Yes, maybe a few more would probably be, you should have approvals from certain bodies like NEMA, which is the National Environment Management Authority, or like WRA, which is the Water Resource Authority. So such bodies just help to regulate what is being constructed. For example, the NEMA, they can maybe come into maybe a certain property that is an estate, and they say in this area only houses to be developed. So if you're maybe bringing up something like a bar development, then maybe they would say this is not the right project for this type of area.
Because of maybe noise pollution.
Noise pollution.
Is a residential area.
Yes. True. So then there's also the bill of quantities, which should be presented and is stamped by the quantity surveyor.
Bill of quantities is what? What is bill of quantities?
A bill of quantities is a book. Basically a book that has all the information of the project. So it has the type of project, the people involved in the project, let's say the design of the project, what materials will be used, who will be the various consultants in the project, the costing and the pricing. So that it also gives the total cost of the project in the end, which will be then reviewed and summarized by all the consultants and the developer. So it's basically to know what you're using, how much it costs, how long the project will take, and all that. So before you begin a project, there are various maybe firms, quantity surveying firms, that also apply for their BQ with their various quotations. Then the developer can choose and say that they want to work with this QS because maybe their BQ is as per the budget they have.
Yeah. And why do you think it's important for you, probably, if I want to construct a house right now? Of course, I feel like I need to have this specific bill of quantities to help me understand the kind of cash that I'm going to be using, maybe how much the project is. Is there another reason why I need to have this bill of quantities, especially stamped by a
QS?
Yeah. Why?
I think it's also just to have standardized use of materials, to advise the developer and the client on what is allowed and what is used, because you find maybe a developer who is undertaking a construction process on his own, he's not able to know that these materials are the ones needed for such a construction. Maybe if it's a riparian area, there are certain types of materials that are necessary. It's also just to help them understand what is needed and what is not needed for this construction and the costs. It's also to help you know that there are certain materials you can get for a better price and others that are high. So it's to give a variation.
Okay, I get you.
Yes.
Is there anything which is important that a contractor requires?
Probably the last two pointers would be maybe the KRA PIN. As for everybody, I think, working in Kenya, you require a KRA PIN for the taxes. And also, each construction process usually has a contract presented. So the contract should also be signed. And it should be an agreement now between the developer and the contractor.
Of course, I feel like there's a lot of importance of having a contract between the developer and the person who's then the consultant, so to speak. In
any case of anything going wrong during the process, at least you have a list of agreements that you have made to avoid any implications or even cost implications.
And
in
even
the future.
If maybe there's a dispute, at least
if there's a dispute,
specific.
It's going to be a better way to handle the situation.
For sure.
Yes.
And so the next, probably last thing that I'd also want us to talk about is the site board. Every time I'm walking around, I see a board, writing who's the person contracting, who's this. There's a lot of names and companies. I'd want you to tell us, what is that? What is the importance of having the site board? Should it even be called a site board to begin with?
Yes, I think the good term to use is actually a site board, because that is what it is ideally. A board in the site, and a site is the construction area, the place that the construction is happening. So a site board is a board that I think everybody has seen, maybe when they're passing the streets of Nairobi, or maybe on your way home. There's a board you see outside the development, probably like outside the fence, or maybe inside, but very close towards the fence, which is normally a whiteboard with a few details in it. So, first of all, a site board has a project, and under the project it shows you the name of the development happening, and also the location and the land number for the piece of land that this construction is happening.
What's the importance of us knowing the kind of project happening there?
So that, first of all, to know that, to alert the for example, if it's in a residential area, to alert the residents on what type of property is taking place, so that for them to know that it may cause some distraction in the next year, or maybe if it's something that is not aligned to maybe what they were what they signed up for,
Yeah.
then maybe they can have maybe some consulting process to know how best way for the construction to take place. So it's basically just to alert the people, and also maybe for the land number in case quantity surveyors pass by as they are going, they ascertain that this land, that this project is being built is actually the land for the developer or client.
Yeah. I get it. Okay, so at the site board, we have the project information.
Yeah, we have the project.
Yeah.
Then we have the ownership details, which is basically the client or the developer, the one bringing up the project or the one basically paying for the project. The person who has said they want maybe a hospital to be built, and you're the owner, and just to show that, for example, Wanjiku, yes, is the one under this project.
Yeah. So just in case someone has stolen
yes.
land.
And we know we come for Wanjiku.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's basically ownership details client stroke developer.
Yeah.
Then we have the supervising consultants, as I've mentioned before. That is the architects, quantity surveyor, civil engineer, structural engineer, electrical engineer, project managers. Everyone who is basically involved in that project is listed.
Yeah.
With also preferably the firm that they come from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds important, actually.
Yes.
Because I feel like it's easy for me to know once a building is coming up, I'm like, this building was done by architect Ashley.
Yeah.
The person who was responsible for the electronic engineering part of it was this company.
Yeah.
So in case there's even voltage, maybe even if it's 2 years from now.
Yeah, you know
just
who to address.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's also a good marketing strategy.
Yes.
Yeah, so that you're able to know maybe if a building came up and it's done very well, then you know the types of consultants to look out for in the future.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
So
and also, sorry to cut you short, also the I know not all projects have all these consultants, but you find that mostly for the big projects, commercial projects, then that's when you'll find that all these various consultants are listed, because for massive projects you have to have all these people involved for the project to go smoothly. Yeah, I totally agree with you. I feel like even if it's a small project, if we can afford to have all these different kind of people, it would be advisable. It would be good, because then we would not have a building collapsing or a building, doing or having drainage issues not addressed, or maybe the structure is not as strong as it should have been. True. Yeah. And the truth of the matter is, I feel like here in Kenya we have all these, qualified and professional people. We do. Yeah, for sure. And we should definitely use our Kenyan consultants. Agreed. Because we have a lot of people studying for engineering, all these types of engineering, surveying. They are coming up slowly by slowly. So we should all reach a point where you're doing a project, involve all the necessary consultants. And Kenyan consultants. Yeah, because we need to lift our own. Yes, to build as a nation, because we are the people of tomorrow. Yeah. We have to start now, so that by the time we reach 2050, we are good people in this industry. Yeah. So that we're not out here saying that, we don't have jobs, but clearly even when you're coming up with projects, you're only giving them to foreigners. Let's call them like that. Yes. And sometimes I feel like we should actually even talk about this towards the end. Sometimes you have foreign companies that have employed Kenyan people. Yeah. But still, the person in charge, for example, if we're talking about an architect, the person in charge as the lead architect is a foreigner. Yes. So even the opinion of all these local people almost don't count, if you can put it like that. Yeah. Yeah, there are various firms like that you find that it's led by a foreigner, maybe a European, and they've decided to employ people in Kenya. Yeah. Which, sometimes it's just how things are being run in our country, where we find a lot of people want to do shortcuts. They don't want hard work and take the long route, but still get to where you want. Yeah. So even as upcoming architects, as QSs and all that, I think you should just strive to work hard, put your best foot forward, be out there also, so that people can know we have a structural engineer. Yeah. Yeah, and also work hard at it so that we're able to also create our own firms and employ people also from the country.
Yeah.
And now we'll have more and more firms who will be trusted organizations to take big projects like One Africa.
Yes. Agreed. So we've talked about, let's get back to the site board.
Oh,
we've talked about the project, having the name of the project, talking about the ownership details. We've also talked about the supervising consultants. And so what else should we be having at the site board guide?
So we have also the contractors, which is the main contractor, and the subcontractor.
Mm-hmm.
So the main contractor is the overall contracting firm for the whole site.
Mm-hmm.
So this firm is the one who maybe if it's part of the agreement, they're able to bring in all these consultants and overlook the whole project.
Yeah.
Then now we have the subcontractors who are now, in our construction, there are various things that take place. So, for example, let's say a construction of a school. We're going to have a subcontractor maybe for the kitchen equipment.
Yes.
Then we'll have a subcontractor maybe for the classroom equipment.
Yeah.
Then we have a subcontractor for the lighting equipment. So such factors is what contribute to having subcontractors in the firm.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I mean in the project, who are now under the main contractor.
Great.
Yeah.
So we have the project, the ownership, supervising consultants, the contractors. Is there any other thing?
Now we have the statutory approvals.
Yes.
So these are approvals now, as I had mentioned before, such as maybe NEMA, getting a NEMA license, or a certificate number by NCA.
Yeah. And I feel like it's definitely an important board. Some of us, as we walk, we just pass that board. We don't even care to read the details.
Yeah.
But I feel like after this discussion, I will be able to understand how this is a contractor. A contractor does this. And this is a mechanical engineer, and the name is this and this person. I'd also be interested in knowing which kind of company is, in charge of coming up with this project at our area. Is it a foreign company? Do we even have locals who've gotten to these points?
Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much for enlightening us about this. I feel like we've learned a lot about the NCA. We've talked about the importance of the NCA. We've also talked about what do they do exactly.
Yeah.
And we've also talked about the site board guide.
Yes.
And so as we are closing up, I'd want to probably get your take on, yes, we have these regulations in paper. We have all these professionals and all these statutory approval, boards and permits that one is supposed to get. Do you feel like it's a positive thing for Kenyans, or is it a negative thing for us? Because the reason why I'm asking this is that sometimes we have a lot of rules that require us to go to the NEMA office. We need to get as a compliance certificate from the NCA. But basically, these are just loopholes of corruption, if I can call it like that. But of course, there is a positive side of it.
Yeah.
What do you feel about that?
Yeah. NCA... Now that we're talking about NCA, it's not just particular to Kenya. Mm-hmm. In any country you visit, you'll find that they have a regulatory body that streamlines the construction in the industry. So it's a body that just helps to basically do that, regulate and streamline. Mm-hmm. So each construction taking place in the country needs to go through that process, because it doesn't just help with just construction. It also helps in creating statistics for the country. Mm-hmm. That's how you know that some countries, for example, China has a certain number of skyscrapers, or Iceland has certain category of buildings. Mm-hmm. It's because of these regulatory bodies. Because when you're registering for a project, it will tell you that you're doing certain number of hospitals in this, for example, in the county, certain number of schools have been developed, so that it can also gauge as a country, where are we as a country?
Yes.
How are the developments taking place as a country?
Yeah.
So overall, we should look at it as that, not just registration of a contractor, so that you're able to have a license to practice construction in the industry. It's a lot more than that. But obviously, as developers and clients, we should also follow the route of getting accredited consultants in the industry, so that also we can be able to monetize the types of buildings taking place, and so that we can see that in a few years to come, not only Nairobi will be developed in the country, we'll have all these other counties having standardized construction.
Yes.
Yeah, so that we can also grow as a country.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ashley, again for coming. And again, our audience, in case you're having any questions or you would want us to talk about a specific thing, feel free to send in a question. And of course, I agree with what you've said lastly. A part of me was like, normally we have a lot of registrations that we need to do and we end up spending a lot of money on it, and sometimes it does not even pay out in the end. But I agree, the construction industry requires a lot of time commitment. It requires a lot of planning. There's also a lot of manpower required. So the least we can do is just follow the laws and regulations, because they end up hurting us if we do not follow what is required.
Yes, and also hopefully the people behind the laws and regulations are doing it for the benefit of the country and not for the benefit of themselves.
Exactly.
And also we trust and believe that it will reach a point that all these systems will be working the way they should.
Yes.
And there won't be any loopholes for corruption.
Yeah, for sure.
Because in this country of ours, we are known to create something and it is benefiting others more than the majority.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes,
I do agree with you, Ashley.
Yeah.
And guys, that's it for today's episode. Next time we're going to be talking about the building codes and the land acquisitions here in Kenya. So feel free to check out our next episode.
Music Podcasts, the home of podcasts in Kenya.